Welcome, everyone. On you just joined us on the Father Show. Today, we're going to be talking about divorcing fathers that have gone through divorce and dads, how you can parenting and co-parent with your former spouse. So don't go nowhere. You're going to enjoy this show. We've got two great ladies that are coming on to explain to us how we can do that the best way. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are just tuned into the Father Show. And before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button and also share and hit the bell so that you can get notified whenever time we have a show, which is usually once a week on a Tuesday. So don't forget, come watch our show. But today, we've got two young ladies that really are going to tell us a lot about how you can co-parent and best be the co-parent as a father that's gone through a divorce or maybe getting ready to go through a divorce. So we want to make sure that you have all the information you have that you need so you can get off on the right foot, get a good start, and keep your kids in the focus. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to welcome Jan and Julian Yuhas, and they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves. So ladies, how y'all doing today?
Great. Thanks for having us, Mike. How
Oh,
are you?
I'm fine. It's my pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for agreeing to come on the show and to share your expertise. It is something that is needed, and we know when fathers go through a divorce, or and really when the kids go through a divorce too,
hmm
they need some help. And so I thank you for coming on the show and doing that. So before we get started, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you both? And you two, in case you haven't noticed, they're twins. So they're just not just sisters that just kind of look familiar to each other. No, they're twins. So why don't you tell them a little bit about yourselves?
Yes, she and I are identical twin sisters. We're 3 minutes apart. We got started on our journey in helping families and children by volunteering at a crisis hotline for runaway teens many, many moons ago. And that journey, in terms of helping teens run away from home and reuniting them with their family, led us to getting our master's in marriage and family therapy, and then later on certified in life coaching, family mediation, and body language and micro expressions. And she and I found our passion in helping divorced families because she and I are actually children of divorce. We happen to have a pretty good relationship with both our mother and our father to this day.
Hmm.
But so we want to help other families have that positive experience as well.
Now, do you mind me asking how old were you when the two of you went through that divorce?
Yeah, we were 3 years old when our parents decided to split and part ways. So
Wow.
at a young age, it's sort of been something that we've grown up our entire lives with. However, our parents did a very good job in terms of having a healthy relationship and nurturing the relationship when we had parenting time with each parent.
Yeah, that's great. It's seldom heard, but it's always welcome when I do hear it because I think it's fantastic when parents can get along in spite of their differences and for the
Mhm.
sake of their kids. Yeah. Now, do you two have any other siblings?
Both of our parents are remarried, so we have a brother and sister at both our mother's and at our father's house.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, good. Well, thank you for sharing that information.
Mm-hmm.
So, so when we're talking about fathers and going through a divorce and dealing with, parenting and learning how to parent because maybe they spent their most of their time working. Now they're, and the wife spent more time parenting. Now they've got it. So, what suggestions would you give to a new father that has just been has to take on that whole responsibility when he has the kids? Uh, any suggestions that you would give to him?
So yes, we start focusing, well, we focus simultaneously on his own healing process, because if we have happy parents, then we have happy children. And children are
Yes.
very observant to their parents' moods or behaviors, and they're always watching, even if they're not saying something. So we definitely focus on his own internal healing process so he can be the best father that he can be. And then from there, we start focusing on things, skill sets that he may need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm helping a father right now. He's a father of two, learning to do his daughter's hair. She requests to do his hair for school. So we've been working on how he's going to do her hair. We've been working on, he's learning to cook quick meals. So he's never been the one that's been the meal maker in the home. So he's learning
Mm-hmm.
to cook quick meals that he can do on his nights with the kids. We're also working on, when it comes to disciplining, instead of being more of a very dominating, aggressive style, we're learning to ask the children discovery questions,
Mm-hmm.
such as, you help me understand how come you don't want to pick up your toys. So when we ask children how come they don't want to do something, they might give us a reason, and then we explain to them how come we do need to pick up the toys. And so we're helping with the discipline process as well. So those are just a few things that we help our clients with.
Okay. Now, when you're saying that you are asking a child, and I'm from a African American family background, and I know some minorities, we don't ask. We're gonna tell you, and we expect you to do it. I'm from the old school. My mother didn't ask me why I didn't want to do something. She said, "You better go do it," and I knew I better go do it. So, how can you help a father that has come from that same type of background to be a little bit softer in his demands and what he's asking?
So you're absolutely right. It is, and it's not just a cultural thing. That's a common amongst all parents, is they usually tell their children what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think with children, we want to show them respect. So that way, even though they might be young, then we want them to respect their elders or their parents. At the same time, if we ask them to do something, they're more inclined to do it than being told to do something. Because if we ask, then it shows that we're respecting them. But if we tell them to do it, then they're more likely to tell you no or not do it. Because even at 2 or 3 years old, no one likes to be told what to do. So
Yeah.
we're trying to change the dynamic of communication, which allows a more integrative teamwork mentality in the home.
Okay. Now, is there an age difference as how acceptable the child may be to it?
With children, you can start using questions as early as like 2 or 3 when they're having a conversation to impact that dialogue that you have with them. Because the sooner children learn these types of communication skills, the better off they're going to be in their relationships as they grow older.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a matter of, once they can start to talk, if they can say yes or no, then you can definitely start implementing those skills.
So you're saying that this is something that they can use in their lifetime, learning how to communicate, which we all know is very important in any relationship.
Right. We're teaching the parent to assess the situation versus assume. And we do that when it comes to co-parenting. We do that with any sort of relationship. A lot of miscommunication happens when we when we assume things versus
Mm-hmm.
assessing it with discovery questions.
Yeah, my
And the
wife
same thing when
says that.
we're using, yeah.
Oh, go
And the
ahead. I'm
same
sorry.
thing when it's okay. And the same time when we're using discovery questions, we're actually connecting with our children, because we're learning about how they feel. How come they don't want to do something? How come they might show resistance, or they're, acting out in a way? When we learn about our children, we're connecting with them so
Mm-hmm.
we can help them navigate those feelings that might be uncomfortable, because most children don't have the skills to express their feelings.
And
It's usually shown through their behaviors.
yeah, and I think that's important what you just said, connecting with your child. That is something that we are all been saying even from birth. We want to hold the baby and let them hear our heartbeat. Let them smell us so they can connect to us. And so that's a very good point. Learning to connect with your child.
I think too, whenever you're going through the divorce process, or you have single parenting time in the home, also connecting with your children, finding an activity to do together, or learning a new hobby together, instead of just like going out to eat or going to a movie. That doesn't really necessarily build connection, but when you
Hmm.
do something together that's interactive, that can also really build that connectivity between the father and the child.
Yeah, and so wouldn't you say, because I know in divorces a lot of times that the dad might have a child every other weekend and one dinner date through the week, and that's really not enough to connect with your child and stay connected with your child. Any suggestions in how you can do a better job at that, or really connect with your child even on a such a limited time frame?
So, like she said, planning activities is always a great way to stay connected with your children, whether it's doing a sporting activity, whether it's doing some sort of art project. It just depends on the personal preference of the child and the parent. Making music, cooking together in the kitchen, just any sort of creative, sporting, physical activity really helps create that bonding time with the child. Or even story time is a great way to have connective time with the parents.
Hmm.
Or dinner time. Sometimes for older children, we say have gratitude around the dinner table, and everybody shares like what they're grateful for today. So that allows a deeper connection as well at the dinner table.
Okay. So, how would a father help his child if he is, say, blaming the father for the divorce? And so he's a little angry at the father, or he or she is angry at the father because they have gone through divorce. Is there a way that he can help that child deal with that?
Yeah, and it goes back to using discovery questions, asking them, help me understand how come you're angry? What are you feeling in this moment? What can I do to help you? Is there anything that you're not receiving right now that would help you feel better about this transition? Sometimes getting books as well. There's a lot of books out there now that help tell the story of children going through divorce to help them process those feelings as well. But it's really important to sit down at your child's level and be able to really engage a conversation with them. But the more you speak with them at their level, the more they're going to feel safe and secure and be able to express what they're truly feeling.
So you're saying speak more with them and not at them.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. That's my fault. Uh, but yeah, and that's good for parents to be able to do that, learn how to do it. I know with fathers sometimes it's even harder because we don't. Uh, we're kind of, and even it might even be in the dominant parent in the family that sometimes the mother will say, "Oh, wait till your dad gets home," or "When your dad gets home, you're gonna get it." If a parent like that gets divorced, how can he overcome being the disciplinarian, the sole disciplinarian in the house, and be a little more calm and softer?
So as human beings, we all embody like masculine and feminine energies. So when we're communicating with children, we have to pull out our soft skills and more of our feminine essence and be vulnerable with our children and be able to have conversations with them. And so it's going to take a man to get outside of his head and tap into his heart to have those heart to heart conversations. And if you feel like it's hard to do, like get on your knees and talk to your child versus standing above them, or sit
Hmm.
like eye to eye next to each other. So how you position your body can help you really implement those soft skills, or maybe have your child, sitting on your lap or next to you, holding their hand. That can also help create more of that soothing empathy conversation dialogue. So that way are trying to help your child while you're going through that process of changing how you communicate.
Now, I've heard that with boys, it's better to talk to them like in a car when you're driving, so you're side by side and you're not focused on them. Do you agree with that?
I wouldn't say necessarily that's like the it thing to do. I think a lot of times making eye contact is really important because then children are going to feel validated and feel like they're being heard and understood.
Hmm.
And eye contact is very, very important at any age in terms of like a connection or relationship.
Okay. Now, so can you give some advice for fathers that are about to go through a divorce or in the middle of the divorce or have already finalized their divorce to help their kids to understand it, deal with it, and help process it?
So when it comes to processing the divorce, the first thing they need to do is find their own healing process. When it comes to getting divorced, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of change going on. It's a huge life transformation at that point in time. So they need to really create a self-care and self-love daily schedule for themselves before they start doing anything else, because it's going to be an emotional roller coaster and we need stability. And the only way to have stability is to look within our own way of taking care of ourselves. Once they figure out how to take care of themselves, then they can start focusing on the actual process of the divorce. But we really want to, like I said, we really want to touch on the emotional component first, because the more you're in control of yourself and have emotional state management, the less your bill is going to be with a lawyer, a mediator, whoever it is that you choose to hire to help you go through your divorce. Because if you start putting all your emotional weight and turmoil onto that person, your bill is going to skyrocket. So you're almost better off trying to hire a mediator or even a coach like ourselves in order to go through the divorce process. It's going to be much more effective and efficient, unless, of course, you have a very high conflict divorce and you have no choice but to go through the court system.
Yeah.
But if you can get along with your ex, you're better off going through mediation, and that's what's best for your children, and putting the children first and trying to create a smooth ride for everybody.
Yeah. And I really, too, believe that you really should try to get along as much as possible. Your marriage is ending, okay, for whatever reason, whoever may be to blame, if anybody, but really focusing on the kids. And I think that if you focus on the kid, you will also benefit from it as well, because you're not going to have all that anger that you're building up, all the fussing and the fighting, and it'll be a smoother transition than it would be if you were both fighting, over something or who's to blame for it and what have you.
Right. The letting go process is probably the most challenging process our clients go through, but we do really have to let go of that past pain. And the quicker you stop giving power to that pain, the easier your life is going to get.
Hmm.
I also think we have to find forgiveness. At the end of the day, in terms of divorce, even if someone steps outside of the marriage, it's really never about one person or the other. That relationship was already falling apart prior to that. And it takes two people to make a relationship work, and it takes two people to make it break and fall apart. So I think a lot of times if we can find more of that even keel spirit, we can also be able to work better in terms of moving forward, so that we're not held back by certain traumatic experiences or incidents that we really have no control over, that we can't change. And so we have to accept where we are today and try to live in the now, because that's how we're going to be able to move forward and
Hmm.
best serve our children as parents.
Yeah. Now, is there a way that you can, or advice that you can give fathers to help their child that are stressing out over the divorce or blaming themselves, which we see a lot of times kid takes on the blame that they're the reason why their parents are getting divorced? Is there something that you can suggest to fathers to help their children deal with that?
Yeah, we actually work with children as well that are going through the divorce process. So we have them do self-love and self-care exercises as well. And then we also help them do sometimes art activities and ways to express their feelings. Sometimes they can write a story, depending on the age, but then also just doing similar things we do as an adult, but just on a simplified scale for a child. Even doing positive affirmations. Some of my children who are young as 7 years old start doing affirmations. I love myself. I love my family. I'm happy that I'm great at math. Whatever it may be, but they are able to start implementing those skills very early on, which helps them build their internal belief system and self-esteem so they can overcome any sort of traumatic experience in their life. They're more prepared and stronger individuals.
Yeah, and I could definitely see that as being a way for a kid to make himself stronger, him or herself stronger, and have more self confidence. Learning that I am confirmation is huge. Would you say that our father, especially with the younger child, maybe that's doing coloring and homework, like in preschool, middle school, elementary, to look at the homework and pay closer attention to it to see if they're drawing something that is showing that they're frustrated or showing that they have anger?
Absolutely. You definitely want to be engaged in your child's schoolwork. That's another way to, connect and do the homework together if they're struggling or having a tough time. But yes, if you notice any types of like certain colors or objects, or even like you notice there's a decline in their like productivity with school, that's definitely a sign to pay attention to and either seek expert help, such as a children coach or a therapist, someone that can help them navigate those feelings if they're not able to help their children in that moment. And no one learns these skills. It's something that we have to usually self-educate ourselves or seek expert to be able to navigate those uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah, because every child is different. And even though you might have, two kids or three kids, all of them are going to be different and they're all going to process this situation differently as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I know with my son, it was a disciplining him was out of the question. It didn't mean anything. If you sat down and talked to him, and like you would mention it earlier, Jillian, eye to eye, it really meant a big deal. I mean, the water fountain would just come on, it would just flow. But he really got the message when I just sit down and just calmly talk to him. And I can see now that that still works for him. And the affirmations that you're talking about, I am. I always try to send my kids affirmations and let them know I'm proud of them, let them know that they are the best, even when they've done wrong. So I think it's great, and that's why I want fathers to hear this. But a lot of times fathers have former spouses that are really not happy about divorce, not happy that he may have moved on. Um, is there any suggestions you can give to fathers that are dealing with a ex-spouse that is not, uh, well, is making it very difficult to communicate with, to co-parent with?
So when it comes to co-parenting, you're going to want to have healthy boundaries between you and your co-parent. So it's important that you don't share any information with your ex-spouse in regards to your dating life, any type of activities, things that you do. Keep all of your conversations children focused to eliminate the emotional challenges that you could face with an ex. This really helps stick to factual information. Refer back to your co-parenting agreement, whatever it is. But the more you stick to the facts versus emotion, the better off you're going to be in terms of having constructive conversations and moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I've told many of fathers, it's like, do not tell your former wife you're dating. Do not. I don't care how long it's been. Don't do it. And really, it's not even just for the men not to say, it's for the women, because there's some men out there that don't want to let go as well. So to keep you have divorced. Now you got separate lives. So keep your life separate.
Right. The only time you should be talking to your ex about someone you're dating is when you're ready to introduce them to the children. And we
Right.
recommend you don't even do that until a solid 6 months to a year of dating someone consistently. At
Mm-hmm.
that point, then you can introduce them to the children.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I definitely agree.
Because then you might want to give your ex respect and ask them if they would prefer to meet the person you're dating that's a significant part of your life prior to meeting the children or not.
But what can a father say when, say the ex is got into a new relationship and they only been together a week or two or a month, and she's got him babysitting her new boyfriend, babysitting the kids, or uh, being around the kids a lot. He maybe even move in for that matter. What would you say for how can a father combat that or really deal with that and help his kids, most importantly, deal with it?
Well, first off, I'd be concerned as to how come this father is moving in a significant other that quickly. If he's only known this person for a week or two. Also, if it's his parenting time, how come he wants to give up his parenting time with his new significant other watching his child? And so I'd want to explore how come he's choosing those types of situations and behaviors in regards to his child, because it's his time to connect with his child. So we need to understand that first and foremost. But then when it comes to dealing with his ex-spouse, I would help him navigate, what are your concerns? Help me understand how I can make you feel more at ease during this process. What is it that you need in regards to the children, hanging out with my new significant other? What would make you feel more comfortable? Because
Mm-hmm.
you really do need to find an alignment with your ex-spouse in regards to a new significant other, because
Mm-hmm.
you're raising the children together. And in order to have happy, healthy children, you have to see it as like you're in business together in a way. So if your children aren't growing and healthy, it's because the two parents, business partners, are not working together. So the business is going to fall apart, which means your children fall apart.
Yeah. So wouldn't you suggest that a parent, even if they have some disagreements, to keep it out of the sight of the kids and out of the ear of the kids, so that they don't be stuck in the middle or feel like they have to take sides?
Correct. The less conflict you can create for the children, the better off the children are.
Yeah, and I
And
don't
it also
think.
doesn't hurt if you are going through a divorce in terms of the whole like dating process to get it in your parenting agreement that each parent agrees they're not going to introduce the children to a significant other for a certain amount of time.
Now that's important. Um, you don't hear that too often in a divorce. I don't think that they put that into the divorce decree.
It's becoming more common, but she and I, we do parenting plans for individuals just because our background is in family history and children development. And so we do parenting plans for families. And that's something we always put in our parenting agreements
Hmm.
because we understand the psychological and the emotional weight that that can have on a child. Because if a parent has a new significant other, the children can feel rejected by that parent and feel like, oh, well, now dad or mom has a new significant other. I'm not important. And they start to self
Mm-hmm.
blame that they're the reason for the divorce.
Well, how would you help a kid that really believes that their parents are going to get back together again?
I think it's important for parents to be transparent with their children, because if we create false hope with the children, if they think they're going to get back together again, then we're misleading our children, or they're not understanding what it's going to be like going back and forth between two households. So we need to share that, mom and dad still love you, but mom and dad just don't see eye to eye anymore. So we need to live separately, but we're still going to love you the same. And you're still going to get time with both of us and still have a relationship. But at any point in time you feel uneasy or uncomfortable, come talk to mom or come talk to dad, and we're going to talk about it, because we're always going to be here for you and you're still our children.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there a way to help kid to learn how to go from home to home, from the mother to the father and back and forth, doing that transition?
That transition needs to be as smooth as possible. And that usually starts with the parents agreeing that they're not going to make a fuss over if their child left clothing items at one house that the other parent bought. Like, it needs to be that the clothes, whether mom or bought them or dad bought them, or electronics such as iPads, toys, whatever it is that they might be going back and forth between household. It's the children's items altogether. It's not really which parent bought what. So we need to make that as smooth as process so the child doesn't feel stressed as I'm not allowed to bring this item to my mom's, or I'm not allowed to bring this item to my dad's, because that's a lot of heavy weight for a child to have to worry about something like that. And if you force a child to grow up sooner than what they're ready for, then you create the parentified child, and then that child struggles later on in life, and they start to regress or have other behavioral concerns that make it challenging for them to really be themselves.
Okay. Now, you two have a book coming out this summer. Is that still on plan?
Yes. Yes,
and
it
the
is.
book is called Powerless to Boundary Badass?
Correct. It's all about boundaries. She and I specialize in co-parenting boundaries, and they will be chapters on there for blended families, children boundaries, co-parenting boundaries. So there'll be about 28 different chapters in there on all different types of relationships, dynamics. It'll be there for work as well, professional boundaries. So every possible boundary you can think of is going to be in that book.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to check that book out when you get it. My wife and I, we have a blended family, but our kids are all adults now, so we don't really have to worry about it. We all get along just very, very well, thank goodness.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I told my wife a lot of times, I said, you don't realize how unusual this is, because we have 6 kids between the two of us. And for all 6 of them to get along is just not something that's normal.
Yeah, that's great that you guys have that.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to you and your wife in regards to parenting, because children, model their parents' behavior. And even if they're modeling behavior from another parent outside the home, but when they're in their home with you guys, they know that things are going to be easy. And it shows that the way you and your wife model your communication style and behavior, children are going to more likely be respectful as well with each other.
And that's very important. You touched on it a little bit, that how kids watch their parents, and we are their first example and what they're going to look at. And if we are acting, lack of a better word put it, like idiots, then you wonder why your kids are acting like idiots. All you got to do is look in the mirror.
Yeah, which is hard for a lot of people to digest, or say, hey, maybe this is something I need to work on. Maybe this is something that I'm contributing to the way my child's behaving.
Yeah.
It can take a lot of strength to be able to have the courage to admit that. But I think the more that we, are able to speak up and say, I need help, the more we find our personal alignment and our authentic voice, which allows the rest of the whole process of divorce and navigating those changes, as well as supporting our children, becomes much easier, because otherwise we stay at war with ourselves, which makes it much harder to navigate change.
Yeah. Well, that is so true. But ladies, unfortunately, that is our time. And I have really enjoyed having you both on the show. Y'all have definitely brought some very good information, and I know our fathers will benefit from it. But before you go, I'd like for you to tell the audience how they can get a hold of the two of you, and about your work as well.
Yeah, so you can reach out to us on divorcefamilymediations.com and set up an appointment, or you can even follow us on Divorce Family Mediation on Instagram, or in DM us, and either way works. But we're happy to have a conversation with you, learn more about your situation, and be able to help give suggestions and see what's going to work best for you and your children.
Okay. And you do this remotely so that you can do it, they can be anywhere in the world.
Yes, they can. We do stateside or international cases in terms of helping families process the co-parenting dynamic and really work through the divorce process and helping them personally and their children too.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, ladies, thank you once again. We'll talk a little bit after the show, but I'm going to close it out right now. But I really thank you for being on the show, and I know our audience will thank you, and probably there's going to be a few that's going to get a hold of you. I'm sure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. And I know you must have enjoyed it. Fathers, we go through a lot when we go through a divorce, and, just like the mother does. So it's not a one sided thing, it's both of us. And I know you're going to learn something from listening to Jillian and Jan, and getting some information about how you can handle going through the divorce, how you can handle your troubled kid if you have one. Hopefully, they're making a smooth transition if that is the case. But if you need any resources, please go to the Father Show with MikeThompson.com and click on resources. And there you can find resources to help you with any information that you need, any help that you may need that's going to get you through your day-to-day life. Now, you can also listen to this show and other shows on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and on our website. You can catch any of the shows and also you can listen to while you're working out, driving to work or home. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, and other apps, so you can catch the show in any time. You don't have to sit down and watch it, but anytime you need to catch it, do so. We'll be back again next week, and with definitely more guests. And until then, I want you to make sure that you don't forget to subscribe to the show, tell somebody else about it, and let them know that we're here for them. And we want to help you fathers get out there and have the best life that you can have, and your kids have the best life they can have. So until we see you next week, I want to say God bless, stay safe, and I can't wait to see you again next week.